Hi guys, so today I'm going to do my best to explain what a countertenor is and explain what the term means. Now, a countertenor isn't a voice type in the usual sense, so I won't be going through the same format as normal. What I'm going to do is try and explain what the term is, where it came from, what one sounds like with examples, and then try and dispel a rumour of somebody that people think is a countertenor, but actually isn't a countertenor at all. So this is going to be a good video, hopefully, and hopefully you'll learn something. So let's go. What is a countertenor? Okay, so a countertenor, or you may have heard it be called a contratenor, is a man whose range predominantly sits in the female range. However, the difference between this and a regular voice type is they use exclusively a head voice or non-modal or falsetto configuration to hit these notes. A countertenor at no point sings with a chest voice or a mixed voice. They have trained their head voice to the point where it's so good and so powerful and so at ease and natural that it's in the same range as a contralto or a mezzo-soprano. In some cases a soprano, but these guys are known as sopranists, and they have a particularly high range. So yeah, as I say, basically it's somebody who's trained their head voice or their falsetto to be so adept and so good that that's where they naturally sing, and that's where they have the most comfort and ease singing, rather than their modal voice like most voice types. The confusion arises because a lot of people think a countertenor is somebody whose voice is naturally higher sitting than a tenor's, or a very high tenor. So they think that someone's modal voice or a natural voice is really, really high to the point where it's in the female key. That isn't a countertenor. If that does exist, that's a tenor or a particularly high tenor. A countertenor sings only in the head voice and falsetto coordination. It's more of a classical singing technique rather than it is an actual voice type. A man's modal voice doesn't really factor in at all when they're singing exclusively in the countertenor coordination. Now, there are some singers that do sing between a countertenor kind of high soprano-y head voicey sort of world and in their regular modal voice. For a good example of this, Damash. I talk about him all the time. Watch this clip. So in this clip, he's flipping between this really high, beautiful, small, gentle, classical voice and also this more whiny, more forward, more powerful mega voice. Also a regular baritone slash barotenor slash tenor chest and modal range. The thing about a countertenor is, because they're singing exclusively in their head voice and their falsetto, their modal voice and their regular chest range, they are tenors and baritones predominantly. All of them speak like a regular person. They all are regular men with modal voice that, if they choose to use them, are in the baritone or tenor range. They just use this part of their voice very seldom because they're famous for these super mega high notes that they do in this more countertenor based coordination. But it is a coordination, it is a style, it is a vocal technique rather than a specific voice type. But people do class themselves as countertenors because they're people who implement this technique an awful lot. But these people are also baritones and tenors should they ever want to sing in their modal voice, which they don't generally, but I'm sure they do have ability in. As I say, a countertenor isn't a voice type as such. It's a term used to describe someone who sings a mega high head voice all the time in more of a classical style. It's pretty much exclusively used in classical music. I don't know of any contemporary countertenors. I know some people that are misidentified as contemporary countertenors but aren't actually contemporary countertenors. It's mainly a classical style. But why is it mainly classical style? Why does it exist and where did the term come from? Alright, so I'll go through a brief little bit of history. A long, long time ago, there was a group called the castrati, or the castrato. These were men who sang in opera and musical theatre songs. Handel created a lot of the plays for them, a very famous composer. They were castrated before puberty, so they had their childlike voices and vocal tone, but also a man's instrument. So these people had really powerful high notes, but also a really childlike tone. It was very bright and very light and very powerful. A regular man could not produce these keys. Obviously, castration became illegal, because of course it did, because it's bloody castration, and these parts had to be covered. Obviously, most men couldn't do them, so the ability to sing in the upper head voice and the upper falsetto became something a lot of men practiced. Some people became really proficient at it, and then the countertenor kind of term arose. So they became really prominent in those things to replace the parts by the castrato, because nobody else could do those parts outside of women, and obviously for an authentic theatre experience you want a man singing the male parts, so the countertenor was the main place to go here. It is also worth mentioning, countertenor term has been around since the 17th century. It was a thing a long time ago, but it hasn't really been made famous again until the castrati of the 19th century, and the fact that they had to replace them. So it's been around for a long time, but really gained prominence in the castrati period or just after, because obviously that became a thing you couldn't do anymore, and then these really super high mega voice classical males arrived. Alright, so I think it's now time to actually show you what a countertenor singer sounds like and what an actual real opera classical contemporary countertenor sounds like. Okay, so what I'm going to do is show you one person who is a countertenor, another person that is very famously by their fan base often mislabeled a countertenor. I'm going to try my best to explain the difference using my own knowledge and obviously the clips that I provide. Okay, so a really famous countertenor right now is Philippe Jarouski. He's a French opera singer. Listen to this angelic voice. Okay, so as you can see, he is singing in a really head-dominant coordination. He's singing only in a head voice, and it's a really strong head voice. He's projecting over an orchestra, so he's doing really well. He's very well practiced. And then as he goes up, he goes into this gorgeous falsetto that's light and beautiful and angelic. Now, he isn't using any modal voice or any chest voice at all when he's singing. There's very little connection to a chest voice whatsoever. He is singing exclusively in a head voice. So he is singing as a countertenor would in the key of a mezzo-soprano or a contralto. He's singing in a female key, doing an almost female part. This is because he's using exclusively a head voice. So let's just say, for the argument's sake, a countertenor was an extremely high male voice type that had a naturally higher voice than the tenors, then surely, if this was the case and Philippe Jarouski was a countertenor, he'd have a really, really high speaking voice, right? Well, not really.
Foreign language, you're always obsessed by pronunciation, and sometimes you overpronounce things, and then you look.
As you can see from this interview, he speaks like a regular man. He has a regular tenor's vocal colour and vocal pitch, so it just goes to show that a countertenor can have any sort of pitch to their regular speaking modal voice when they're pretty much ignoring that exclusively when they're singing and using only a head dominant or falsetto coordination. So that's a good way to show a countertenor in real life. They sing with a really head dominant high coordination, and they speak like a regular tenor or a regular baritone, because that's all they are. They're a tenor or a baritone implementing a vocal technique. So let's just listen to his voice again just to really show that off and how angelic a countertenor can sound. Okay, so let's look at somebody that's very frequently misidentified by their fans as a countertenor. We're going to look at BTS again, and we'll look at Jimin. Now, Jimin does have a really high, light voice, but it's akin to a high tenor voice or a lyric tenor voice. It's very light, it's very airy sometimes, but it uses almost exclusive modal configuration, a chest and a mixed voice. Let's have a look. So yes, while his voice is high, he isn't using a exclusively head voice tone. He isn't singing in a countertenor or classical soprano based way. He just isn't doing that. He's singing with a chest voice or a belt or a mixed voice. Yes, Jimin does occasionally like to go to big high notes. That's kind of why people misidentify him. He goes to A5s quite a lot and pushes some really high head voice notes. Let's have a look. So how are these different to a classical countertenor? Well, most tenors, including Jimin, operate like this with a head voice. They sing in their regular chest voice and modal voice, and then to do really high extensions to the voice, they push up these notes and do really high impressive notes, and they're great and they're amazing, they're fantastic. But he couldn't sing these extended long phrases exclusively in this coordination because he wouldn't have the practice, he wouldn't have the feeling, and his vocal cords wouldn't feel comfortable. He's far more used to singing around a mix or around the passaggio or around flipping to falsetto or doing it occasionally, rather than doing it consistently and all the time like a countertenor would, as they sing exclusively up there and Jimin does not. So let's compare Philippe and Jimin's speaking, shall we?
그쵸. 정말 열심히 했죠. 아, 저도 평소에 형이랑 진짜 무대를 꼭 해보고 싶었는데,
네.
아, 이번 기회가 참.
Okay, so as you can see, Jimin's got a really light spoken voice. He's got a really high spoken voice. It's actually higher than Philippe Jarouski's voice, but Philippe sings consistently higher. That's because countertenor isn't a step above a tenor in terms of their modal voice pitch and colour. It's because it's a vocal technique, and that's the way that Philippe's choosing to sing in a higher register, despite him having a regular kind of speaking voice. Whereas Jimin has a high light speaking voice, a high light singing voice, and a high light falsetto, which he uses all of because he is a tenor, not a countertenor. He isn't using an exclusive vocal technique to sing in a really high coordination. He's just singing high all the time because that's the voice that he has. Okay guys, thank you for watching. I understand that was quite confusing and a countertenor, there's a lot to it. There are a few different definitions of a countertenor out there. This is the one that I personally subscribe to and think of a countertenor, a man who sings in really high coordination rather than having a particularly high voice, if that makes sense. So it's a technique rather than a voice type. I hope you learned something, I hope you enjoyed, and next time we'll go on to the women's voice types, starting at the bottom with the contralto or the alto. See you later.